Please be seated. This morning we come together to pray, to remember, and to mourn. We are not here today to ask questions amidst a horrendous calamity, nor are we here to seek easy answers to our questions. Be we religious or secular, chances are the same prayer sits in the cusp of our minds. Dear God, please do not let 8:49 p.m. Saturday night be the last word. As we sit here together today, some of you are paralyzed by grief because of friends lost, friends suffering from injury. Others of you are simply numb, traumatized by that haunting specter of a collapsing stage and the scream of helpless spectators. And yet all of us here today have gathered in search of a word from beyond ourselves, a word of hope. In Christian scriptures, John's Gospel, chapter 6, there is a verse which reads, Lord, to whom can we go? You alone have the words of life. Now, don't miss the setting of that statement. It is a scene framed in anxiety. Jesus and his disciples are having a tough time. Life is simply not turning out as expected. That is when Peter, a disciple of Jesus, looks around, considers the options, and then simply says, Lord, where else can we go? You alone have the words that can give life meaning. Ironically, right here, right now, we are all stuck right where we ought to be, in the middle of a horrendous catastrophe. Yes, Saturday has come and gone and Monday has arrived, but we still find ourselves this very moment standing in the shadow of tangled steel, frayed wires, blood-splattered concrete, and haunting memories. And so what I've come to say to you today is simply this: we can't get beyond this moment on our own. We are here because we seek assurance that there is someone else alongside us, walking beside us. Elie Wiesel tells this story. One day, while incarcerated at Auschwitz, one of Hitler's death camps, there was a triple hanging by the German SS, which included a young boy. Sadly, the young boy did not die easily because the noose became caught around his neck. As that young boy dangled there, turning blue by the second, it was someone who in the crowd shouted out, "And where is God? Where is God now?" Elie Wiesel writes, "It was in that very moment that I heard a voice from within me answer him, 'Where is God? God is here, hanging on this gallows.'" And so I say to you this morning, listen. Just listen. Because it is precisely amidst the rubble of Saturday night and its aftermath that you and I, if we are listening, hear the whispers of God. God, with that security officer crushed beneath a clapped stage. God, with that stagehand as he was flying high in the rafters, ready to shine a spotlight on the Sugarland performers. God, in the rush of that spectator mob as they moved forward, arms flailing to free those who were trapped and care for those who had been wounded. God, in the police, fire, and medical personnel dashing to the scene, sirens wailing. And yes, God, in the gasp of the thousands of helpless spectators who could simply do nothing but stand there watching and praying. And this very moment, God, at work in the hospitals with those who remained there wounded, working through the skilled hands of doctors and nurses to bring hope and healing. One great truth claim shared by Christians, Jews, and Muslims is called resurrection. From the Christian perspective from which I speak, the key to our understanding of the resurrection is the story behind the story. Behind the story of the resurrection sits the story of a terrible death and awful suffering. For you see, the point of the resurrection story is simply this: only a suffering God can get us unstuck from the muddle of a horrific moment and move us beyond. To be human is to be vulnerable to the fickle finger of nature's calamities. But to have faith is to dare to live in the present with an eye focused in hope on tomorrow. A little boy who was in one of those terrible prison camps years ago tells this story. His father was a good Jew who believed in observing the Sabbath. It was a setting in which there was not much food. And so one day his father took out a piece of string, dipped it in some butter, and lit it to make a Shabbat, a Sabbath candle. As the little boy watched that and looked at the empty counter of food, he screamed to his father, "Father, that's all the butter we have." Then the father turned to his son and he said, "My son, without food, we can live for weeks, but we cannot live for a minute without hope." I close with these words from the psalmist. Psalm 46. God is our refuge and stronghold, a help in trouble, and very near. Therefore we will not be afraid, though the earth reels, though mountains topple into the sea. There is a river whose streams gladden God's city. God is in its midst, and it will not be toppled. At daybreak, God will come to its aid. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. And so we dare to hang our hope on God, our refuge and our haven. Amen.